What is up, guys? Welcome to another episode of the All In Podcast with Ryan the Rock and Bad Beat Bryce. This is our first episode of the year, and we're really excited for what's to come. How are you doing today, Ryan?
Oh, Bryce, I am so good. As you can see, I got a new podcast microphone for Christmas. I might just have to ship you my old one.
Please do. Who gifted you it?
Mom. Of course, Mom gave me this.
Awesome.
Mom's a big viewer, big supporter of the podcast. She might be in the live chat now. I'm not quite sure, but she'll definitely be watching the episode. And as she said to me this weekend, her birthday is New Year's Eve. So, we went on a little family trip over the weekend. And as she said to me over the weekend, I watched the podcast, but I have absolutely no idea what anyone is saying. It's all foreign language to her.
That's still support, though. That's still support.
She watches.
Mr. Leakus. Thank you for the new microphone.
There we go. Exactly.
So on this episode, we are going to be discussing goal setting and our goals for the new year, 2022, as well as we have an amazing guest, which I cannot wait, as you can see in the title of this live, but very excited for him. Been trying to get him on for a while, so cannot wait to see how that interview goes. But what are your goals for this 2022, Ryan?
Yeah, so doing some good work in 2021 with Karim and Mindset Mentoring. Great program. Karim, Chelly, Mindset Mentoring on Instagram. Go check him out. Doing goal setting with him was really good because he does like progressive things where, every certain amount of months there's a check-in. But, in terms of just like pure 2022 poker goals, as a recreational player, I like the idea of setting a volume goal instead of a monetary goal. It's like the goal is to put in 500 hours, online, live, all combined. And I think that's a perfectly feasible thing. With COVID numbers as high as they are right now, I'm not playing live, but feasibly by February we'll be fine. So I'll be back to putting in volume.
Absolutely.
Mohegan Sun.
And I also think you should set goals that are maybe even monthly or quarterly, because for a whole year goal, you can kind of get lost in that big, large number. It's definitely good to set an hourly goal opposed to a monetary goal, because as you put in more hours, I mean, your hourly, like it should translate to similar, and it doesn't put that pressure of, oh, I have to hit this 30K, 50K, whatever mark you set for yourself. So I really think that's a smarter and wiser goal. For me personally, I think a lot of my goals this year are outside of poker. For one of my goals is just play more cash and less tournaments. But as I say that, I'm firing a tournament tomorrow at Spades. So I don't know.
Hey man, you got to come back down with me to the people who are building a roll at the cash tables,
Yeah, got to go back to that cash grinding. Absolutely, man. But yeah, I think a lot of my goals are health and fitness related. So I'm going to the gym 5 times a week. I'm doing a lot more of clean eating. I think, yeah, definitely doing a little more work on my body and mind, as well as just working more on meditation, getting more massages, just really taking care of my body. This last year, I kind of got a little too much into the partying, the grinding too much, the staying up all night long. Yeah, I mean, kind of freshly new to the full-time professional poker playing. So kind of let it gain some weight during COVID. So yeah, I got to shed that off, but definitely excited for the new year and for what's to come.
So this week on the All In Poker podcast, we are proud to present a highly requested guest. From incredibly humble beginnings in Anaheim, California, this college dropout started a technology company at the age of 22 while working as a police officer at the same time. After the dot-com bubble burst, Nick Vertucci attended a 3-day real estate course that launched his career as a real estate entrepreneur, first building a profitable real estate business before transitioning to training and building the Nick Vertucci Real Estate Academy. Nick's notoriety in the poker world comes from playing on some of the most legendary live at the bike streams and against the likes of Art Papazian, Garrett Adelstein, Phil Hellmuth, Matt Berkey, Alec Torelli, and many, many more. He's built businesses from the ground up and learned how to play poker battling with the best in the world. We couldn't be more thankful to kick off 2021 with such an amazing guest. And without further ado, let's welcome Nick Vertucci to the podcast.
Ryan, Bryce, thank you for having me. I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, very happy to have you.
Yeah.
So I want to get things kicked off. So as someone who comes from a business background and is not a professional poker player, what has built up your confidence to go and play against some of the best no limit hold'em cash players in the world at the highest stakes?
So how that happened is this. I mean, for my whole life, I had a poker grind in me. I literally had a fake ID so I could play poker before I was 21. 100% recreational. I ran businesses. As you mentioned, I was a police officer. There's a lot of things going on in my life, building a family, all that kind of stuff. But, I always just played and again, very recreational, very face up. Lucky enough that when I was playing all those years, usually at the Commerce Casino, there's a lot of other not so great players. So I was always able to survive because it just, the player pool was just what it was. Every once in a while, if the game got really solid, obviously you'd see the difference in the results because, I was recreational. And so at some point I got invited, gosh, I don't know how long ago it was, maybe a handful of years or more, onto the live streams. I've never had done that. I got invited on and, I started playing the Friday game with the names you talked about, Garrett Adelstein, Art Papazian. I mean, we can go on, Dan Zach, all those guys.
Crazy the list.
Yeah. That's when it really occurred to me. I didn't know shit about playing poker. Okay. Because that was a level that, it was just a rude awakening. It was another level. But what happened was, it started really kind of spurring my competitive nature as I started to play more. And so I started studying. I started rewatching the hands, the tapes. I really went at it. And it was a slow process. And even to this day, I work with a particular person that helps me with my game. And so it's been this progression, but truly my education came on the felt by playing with the best. I wouldn't say, and it's funny because when we use the term recreational, pro, etc., right now, I don't know what I would call myself. I don't run my professional businesses anymore. I run the business over at Hustler Casino Live. We created that show and I play poker now 2 to 4 or 5 times a week. So I don't know what I am or what you call it because, I've played with a lot of recreational players that played like pros and I played with a lot of pros that played like recreational players. So, but back to the point is, I got my education that way and I'm highly competitive. So by no means do I think I'm a great poker player, but I'm a lot different player than I was when I started the journey. And I'm continuing to try to just expound on that and be better and better. That's just my nature to if I'm going to do something, to want to compete. Once I started taking it serious more than just passing some time, then I knew I had to put some work in or it wasn't going to be fun for me because I don't like losing.
Yeah, absolutely. That competitive nature definitely comes out, and I can speak for Ryan and I that you're definitely one of our favorites.
I was about to say that literally it sounds exactly like what we did, where when we both got started, it was that aspect of we were both athletes, we were both competitive people, and as soon as we realized that there were levels to this, that it wasn't just like what people call it as pure gambling who know nothing about it, that it gets crazy how much knowledge you can have about the game and how it can change how you play. That's how the two of us are here now,
the fun part
years later.
That's the fun part for me is you're never going to be able to master it. There's always going to be another level or layer. And the process of that is what really turns me on more than anything, because it doesn't, we have a lot of players that, they play total just to gamble and be recreational. And to be honest with you, those are the more popular players because they're funner to watch and they go crazy and they can lose, a 50 or 100 ball and walk away. And they accept that fate. Me, if I'm going to lose, 50K or 100K in a game, I want you to earn it. It's just, I came from a background of K through 12, no matter how much money I have or will have, it just doesn't excite me to go and light it on fire. It just doesn't. So for me, it's I could play a session that someone could say, wow, that was a really good session, but I could find 10 things in there that I did wrong. And that's what I start focusing on, and
right.
Man, and don't get me wrong. I got so far to go. It's crazy. It's just, I'm just trying,
We all do. Poker's a always evolving game, and it's crazy how many layers they are, like Ryan said. And when you think you know it all, you get smacked in the face and realize you know nothing.
You can have a session where you make 90% correct decisions and lose, and you can have sessions where you make 50% correct decisions and win.
The ones that I make 90% decisions right and lose, I can live with.
Right, exactly. That's when we're happy.
That's just poker. And, the good players over time, they really are going to win. But what people don't understand is, as a poker player, you might lose 40% of the time you play. It's just a matter of when you lose, you're going to lose less than someone who's just there to donk it off. And when you win, you're going to win more, and you're going to optimize, that situation. So I'll tell you what I've learned from poker more than anything is, like one of you guys just mentioned earlier, it's like you could feel like nothing could go wrong. You're bulletproof. And then, a month later, you don't really feel like you're ever going to win again.
Yeah. Oh my God. Bryce and I've been through that in the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Absolutely.
Yeah. But that's what separates the players that are going to survive and be winning players, because if you can't handle that mental part of it, which is very tough, generally speaking, you're not going to be a winning player. If you tilt, like I tilt emotionally sometimes inside, for sure. But if you start tilting with your chips when you're losing or start chasing, you're just never going to win. Never. So that's tough, though, because that's the toughest part of poker for most players.
100%. Well said. Our next question has to do with the stream you started up. So we interviewed Ryan Feldman in January of 2021 before the stream got kicked off. Ryan did a great job of talking about the process from initially DMing Sean, the GM of Hustler Casino, to negotiating the live stream stage/studio. What I should have asked is how you and Ryan decided to create your own poker stream in the first place. And did you ever expect it to become the biggest live stream in poker this fast?
When I started playing poker, no. When I decided that I was going to, then yes. Because I firmly believe, I've always been this way, I firmly believe if you see it, believe it, you map it out, and then you execute it, I think you can do anything. So once I decided that's what I wanted to be, then I that's all I could see. So how it happened with Ryan and I is I don't remember how I got invited on that show. Ryan had 3, 4, 5 partners within Live at the Bike. And over time, I just started playing, and Ryan and I became friends. But me as a business guy, how it started really was innocently. I just would say to him, like, man, why don't, you guys kind of got the market cornered here. So now's the time to like really punch that hole deep and not let anyone compete with you. Why don't you do this? Why don't you have better production? You got thousands of people watching, and sometimes it kind of doesn't look that great. And, why don't you monetize it this way? This is so much more lucrative than trying to monetize it this way. Why don't you do that? And then over time, when Ryan trusted me, he started sharing with me his frustrations, which was he had a handful of partners or whatever it was, 3 or 4 partners that just were on cruise control. They didn't want to put money and invest in the future of the stream. Ryan was outworking them, which he outworks everybody. He's a grinder when it comes to working when he believes in something. And he got disgruntled. And, it never was my intention to ever step in the way of any of that. What started happening is Ryan kept asking me as a businessman, what would you do? And I said, Ryan, the only thing I can tell you is I can't tell you what to do. But unless you're doing something you believe in, you're never going to get to where you need to be. I don't know what that means. So Ryan made a decision on his own to walk away from that partnership and his interest in Live at the Bike with nothing on the platter except an idea. And then he approached me prior and said, would you be willing to help me build a stream if we can get a stream? Your business end of it, I need. And I said, well, funny you mention it, because like I'm kind of getting to the point in my life where I want to unwind out of all these businesses I have. I had a really, really big training business. I've been investing in real estate for years. And I said, yeah, I'd be interested in that, but I'd want to do it differently. And he said, well, that's why I'm walking away. And he walked away cold. And I'm bad with timing, but it could have been a year later, a year and a half. I don't know what it was during COVID, all that. And, we took this idea, I put together a business plan, and we hit almost every casino in LA. And I will tell you, none of the GMs or the top management there really got it. Like, it was shocking to me that if I could put thousands of people looking at your product for this minimal amount of effort and commitment from you, how like it just the arrogance in this in the industry was ridiculous as far as top management. Then Ryan was not with Live at the Bike, but he was still a host at the Bike. And when COVID hit, they sent him a letter, and they basically let him go pretty abruptly and coldly, and didn't appreciate anything he did. He was really pissed off. He put the letter on Twitter. And
I remember
that. This is one casino we didn't go to. Sean Yapel from Hustler Casino, the GM, contacted Ryan and said, "Hey, bro, why don't we talk?" And so within a couple of weeks, we were in there. And I would say literally within 30 minutes, we all knew we were going to work together. Not too long after, we had a 2-year agreement signed. We had the same vision. And the Hustler Casino and Sean, the GM, has been nothing but amazing. Like, could not have done it without him. They put hundreds of thousands of dollars into the set that they built. I personally put $250,000 into the audio visual because we decided if we're going to come out, we're going to come out hot. I'm not going to come out looking like we're taping this on a flip phone. We're going to come out. We're going to build the best games, the best product with the best everything. And then the rest is just going to fall into place. And that really was our focus. It took a long time with permitting and everything to get this thing built and to get it going, and COVID and everything else. And we just kept, building the foundation. And then August 3rd of last year was our first show. And we had done 101 shows by the end of the year. And like you said, and this is just the truth. It's not a, it's not a brag. It's the truth. We're the #1 live cash poker stream out there. I mean, we give the best product, and we're the only one doing it at that level free.
Right.
Free,
yeah, and it's incredible. Every bit of it. You can go back. You can watch every stream. You can see every highlight. None of it is limited by a paywall at any point.
No paywall. Paywall is an antiquated business model. There's too much attrition. It's just not a good model. I mean, the model is get your brand out, get it out as far and wide as you can, and build the best product. And if there's people interested in that product, the rest is just easy.
You know who I think is doing the next best job of that would be like the Lodge. I think everybody in the poker room saw the news yesterday about Doug Polk, Andrew Nini, Brad Owen, all buying a piece. And I think that is such a brilliant idea, for all of them to come together and for the Lodge ownership to be comfortable bringing on some co-owners like that. Because, those are 500, 600,000, almost 1 million subscribers between the three of them, and, a couple million more eyes on the Lodge. I just think
I believe they bought a majority as well, Ryan.
Wow. They bought all of it. I didn't even know that.
That's what I heard, at least.
Yeah. Well, I would tend to agree with you. I mean, and I don't know what they're going to do with all the production and everything else, but those are big names, and if they can bring in big names, and I had not watched much of the law. I mean, I watched some of it. I don't watch it regularly, but I went in there about a few weeks ago, and I actually went into the chat. They were really cool. The announcers and the owners and everyone's like, "Hey, man," I'm like, "Hey, I'm not here to troll. I'm not here. Competition's good. More poker, the better." They said, "Come down and play sometime." I said, "If I'm ever there, I will." So yeah, I agree with you. I think they do a good job.
Slick
I think production wise, obviously Poker Go is at our level, but it's a paywall.
Right. Yeah. You pay, you get to see Michael Adamo bluff people with 9 deuce off.
Yeah. I mean, and that's cool. But the problem that one of the reasons why we're so successful is we have such a big player base in LA, players that are friends, that want to play with us, that are action players, that are deep, that want to play big. We're able to run, if you think it out, it's tough. We're able to run 5 days a week, 50 something weeks in a year, playing live cash poker. So I think that's where everyone else struggles too. I mean, it's like Poker Go. You're just not going to get that kind of quantity either. It's going to be, if we bring in 8 big names and then you got to pay for it, or we have some other big highlights, and those are cool, like that. There's nothing wrong with that. It's their business model. But that's why it's pretty amazing, because like right now, we're probably the only place you can tune into for free to have that kind of production and to see those type of games with those. I mean, we're talking in our Tuesday ante game, which is a 5-5-50, we're talking $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 pots on the regular, right? And that's not even our high stakes Friday. And so if you get that 5 days a week, it's just going to get traction, man.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It's unbelievable. So one of the many things that makes Hustler Casino Live great is the history that's been built up between all these players at the table, because the LA scene's been so big and you guys have been playing against each other for years.
Yeah.
More often than not, when you sit at the table, it's mostly against people that you've been playing against, and in most cases for extended periods of time.
Right.
How much do you adapt your game based on the opponent you're playing and your long-term history with that person?
Oh my God. It's everything. Even sometimes when I commentate, it's like people are like, how does he know that's going to happen? It's because I've known that player for 6 years. I've been in numerous pots with him. I know when he's losing, what he does. I know when he's winning, how he plays. I know when he's in this position. So it's a big deal, and you have to adjust to that. I mean, I'll buy into one game, deep, and I'll buy into another game not as deep, adjusting to who I'm up against and what's happening and what seat position I'm in and, what mood that those certain people are in. I mean, it's a huge part of it. And I wouldn't say it's an advantage, but it's very helpful to be at a table, to have 60-70% of the people that you actually know some of the tendencies. Because if you just sit down in a cold table, brand new, 7 to 8 other players, like, it within a few hours you'll get it, but
yeah,
it's time, so it's been pretty cool. And the nice thing about it too is, I built this show because I wanted it to, with Ryan, because I wanted it to be the best, and poker is something I love. And now I'm at the stage in my life where I just want to focus on really what I care about and what I love. I could go do other things right now that I know how to do and bring in way more dollars, but I've already done that. And so right now I'm just want to do what I love, and I'm going to, I want to build this thing to what it is. But the nice thing about it is I've created a place that I could come where I'd say a good 50% of those players are players I really like, and they're my friends. And when I'm having a session, I'm having a good time. So it's kind of a quality of life too, that it's just been pretty cool, because it's created that as well as the business aspect of it. Now, there's a few people in there that are either regulars or sometimes shows up that, I don't care for. That's like anyone else, right? There's just certain personalities, and I've had a couple slip ups, but I try to just bite my tongue and push through. And if they're good for the game, they're good for the game.
I really respect the way that you've handled it in the past, though. Like the only real situation that ever happened was with Jerry, and you came out the next morning and immediately were like, "Hey, I apologize for what happened." It wasn't you, and like we all, I think people who have seen you and
I don't want to say it wasn't me, because I always want to keep it real, but I will tell you what it was. I am better than that, and I should have been better than that. I was starting a little bit of a downswing. I was having a bad session, and I don't mind a lot of that crazy hysterics. That's fine, but it just was one of those shows where what really got in my way was because I'm one of the creators of the show. So anytime there's a decision, anytime there's a question, everyone looks to me. But that became a problem, because with that particular situation, Jerry and somebody else were prop betting. We can't allow that so blatantly. When you do that, you kind of have to do it on the DL. You can't just stand up and scream it. And it was holding up the game and everything else. And everyone keeps looking to me. So I was the one that had to deliver the bad news that had to stop, which I've since changed that. I'm just a player now when I'm playing. I won't say shit. So if something happens, somebody from production needs to come down and handle it, because it gets in the way of my mental game if I'm too focused on running a business, right? So I run the business when I'm not playing. And so with that, that's what it was. And then he drank and got, really loud. And then I was in the middle of a hand. It wasn't the biggest hand. I think I had a $15,000 decision. What no one saw in the videos, he was badgering me through that decision, just saying shit. And it was in my head and I couldn't think. And again, this is my fault for not being able to be professional enough to block that out. But I was getting tilted internally by that process. And so I made the wrong decision, which totally tilted me. And then he, again, whatever. And then I just snapped. But the problem was, I can't do that. And here's the reasons I can't do that. Number one is I need to be better than that. We know that, right? You do. And I am one of the creators of the show. So for sure, I got to be better than that. And then I put myself in the worst position because, yes, I'm mature. And yes, I believe walking away is the best thing and making peace and all that. I really do. But if somebody literally jumps up and is saying, let's right now, I'd rather die in a knife fight than to say no, because I can't look at myself in the mirror. I'd rather just go get beat up. Okay. So, but I am a quick thinker. And I thought, oh my God, what did I just do? I put myself in a position to have to just sit here in my hands. because if I get up and do anything, I'm going to get barred out of this casino. I run a business here. I play here 4 times a week. So I knew I could do nothing but sit. Was really frustrating for me, which is the right thing as well. So I really put myself in the worst position ever. I was wrong. And that's why the apology came the next day. I don't do apologies unless I meet them. I'm not into the cancel culture. I'm not into politically correctness. If I didn't feel like I needed to apologize, I wouldn't have done that just for the good of the business. But I shouldn't have, and I made the apology. So,
no, I appreciate that. It's somewhat similar
mistakes,
to when Ryan got involved in that situation. I think was it Israeli Ron?
No, Armenian Mike.
Armenian Mike, who jammed into him by putting the rack in the middle, and then it's
he was
like
just kidding.
$100,000.
Kidding.
Oh, I was just kidding. It was just a joke. And Ryan's sitting there, and you could literally just see the moment he went, "Oh my God, I'm the producer of the show, and this just happened to me at the table with the regular." Like, man.
Yeah, he was in a real spot because obviously the right thing is those chips go to him immediately. There's no decision. It doesn't matter. That was an angle. God bless Armenian Mike. I like him. And the floor man screwed the pooch because he kept looking for Ryan. He kept looking at Ryan. The floor man needed to make a decision and put Ryan out of that situation, which he did not do. And Ryan was in a lot of pain just sitting there waiting for the right decision to be made because he didn't want to screw up one of his main players and burn the relationship. And he was in a bad spot.
Yeah, he said it himself. It's hard enough to put together 1 high stakes game a week. You guys are putting together 5.
Yeah, he's really good at it, but it is really a gift because it's hard.
I believe it. Well, you guys do a great job at it
because I don't have the patience like he does.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So one question I have for you is, have you developed a specific routine before sessions? If there's a new player who's going to play on a streamed game, what sort of research do you do? And how much active studying do you currently do away from the tables?
So I will say that I probably don't do as much research on a new player as I should, only because of the fact that I'm just busy. But what I do, though, is after every session, and even sometimes not after every session, just do it anyways. Like I mentioned, I work with someone that I feel is one of the best poker players out there. And I work on my game and I go through each session, every hand that I'm in, and I replay it and we go over it, like every bit of it. And even when you think you're playing perfect poker, when you're able to really look back at it and reflect, is when you realize I didn't play perfect poker. I played good poker, but here's a ton of mistakes. So I'm always trying to optimize. And so I put a lot of work into it now.
That's okay.
But my point is, during COVID and stuff, we ran a lot of other games, online stuff. I kind of got away from that. And then in the last few months, I've been back at it, really studying and just trying to make myself better. I know what my weaknesses are, and I get a lot of shit for that too. I mean, the truth is the fact that when people tune in, they want to see certain players. I'm not going to name the names, but they want to see certain players who are just firing randomly for no reason, right? Just going crazy. And I don't play like that. I need to play optimal not because I don't have the money to lose. It's because I'm too competitive. I can't just go there and light on fire. So I want to play optimal. And that sometimes frustrates some people because I'm trying to play optimal. It doesn't mean I don't want to be aggressive. It just means, in certain spots, and there's a lot of, a lot of people are focused on VPIP when they're watching. Right. Mm-hmm. And if you're really a good poker player, depending on who you're playing against, what game you are, your VPIP is irrelevant. It shouldn't even be up there. But it's nice because when, they see someone with a 60, 70% VPIP, they're the fan favorite.
Oh,
automatically. I'm down at 20 and, they don't like that. So, but to your question is I study a lot and it doesn't show, but I do.
I very much am impressed with your game, so I disagree with that statement. But Ryan, what do you have to say?
Well, I also wanted to ask, what are the things of getting to play with all these players and hang out with them off stream? Are there any nuggets of wisdom, intoxicatedly gathered or otherwise, that you've gotten from high-level pro players that, things that just stick with you in your head that they've said to you?
As far as poker?
Yeah, as far as poker.
No,
or do you guys not talk poker when you're off the table?
I'll give you an example. One guy I consider an absolute friend, Garrett Adelstein, fan favorite. Just a beast, right? You would agree?
Of course.
Absolutely.
He wouldn't fucking tell you one bit of information if your life depended on it. No matter if he loved you as a friend, he wants you to know nothing. So point is most of the really top pros don't say anything about anything or talk shop or give advice or try to educate you on your play, because they enjoy when you're playing bad, because they're there to win. And so, no, not really, to be honest with you. Sometimes there's some chucking and jiving over big hands or some bad beats and like trolling and stuff, but no round tabling, if you will.
Gotcha. Makes sense.
Yeah.
You all have your own camps for that.
So Nick from Yuma in the chat has a question for you. If you could choose one player/celebrity you could hope to get on stream one day, who would it be and why?
Oh, wow. Nick from Yuma's everywhere.
He is.
He really is.
Everywhere. We made friends with him
on...
in a live chat. I think probably either Hustler Casino or TCA.
He's everywhere. He's the chat king. Everyone knows him.
Yes.
Okay, so who would I want to play with? Well, it's funny because even when we had Tom Dwan and Phil Ivey and some of the biggest names, I had to give up my seat because of the business end of it. So many people wanted in that game that a lot of times, like even on a Friday, I give up my seat because there's such a high demand for our games, especially the higher stakes games, because you can't find them anywhere. And so a lot of times I give up my seat. So I could have played with a lot of these greats. And that's why a lot of people, even like Chris, stepped up and played one of the Friday games. He never plays a Friday game because he wanted to play with Phil Ivey, right? And Tom Dwan and whatever. And so I'm trying to think. I want to answer Nick's question. I just don't have I've played with Phil Hellmuth, Mike Manassa, like all these guys. So there's not really, and even when I had to give, like, would have been cool to play with those guys, yes, but I've never been a guy, even outside of poker, that will walk up to someone and say, hey, can I have your autograph? Or, not that I'm not impressed by something someone does or I respect it, but I'm just, no, man. Honestly, for me, like, if I get 8 other players that I really like that are fun to play with, like every once in a while we'll get like the perfect game. I'd rather be in that game for 6 hours than playing with some bigger names just sitting there like a mute.
Mm-hmm.
So I hope I didn't screw up his question, but that's just the truth.
No, good answer.
Yeah,
Who would be the first person you're calling though to be at that table of your perfect table of 8?
What's that?
Who's your first phone call? Who's the first person at that table?
Well, Ryan makes the phone calls, but I love playing with Chris, Luda Chris, because of the rivalry. And he's like, everyone thinks him and I have a real thing. Like, hey, why are you so mean to Chris? I really like him. He's a good kid. He takes the trolling well. He takes his beats well. He takes his winning well. So I enjoy playing with him because there's always a lot of action, and him and he's always trying to isolate me. He just can't get past the fact that he wants to beat me so bad. So that puts me in a lot of good spots. So I love playing with Chris because he's fun. Big John plays with us. The guys from Palmdale, they're just sweethearts. Like there's no bullshit. There's a couple of guys in there that are always go a little too far. They're just like not, I'm not going to name any names, but I don't enjoy my time when they're at the table because they make a negative, like you control someone, but you have to, like, even with Chris, like I'll lay off him when I know he's really hurting over something. Like I'll lay off until I see he's okay and joking around again. But there's a couple players that will just try to needle you into the ground, like immediately after. And like, even myself, no matter how professional I want to be and how much I want to make that not matter, I just want to throat punch that guy. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's like, those are the guys that I don't like to be in the game because like I have this polarizing personality of being like kind of a dick or whatever, but I'm really actually a really nice guy. And so like, if there was one person being picked on, I would stick up for that person. If it was like in school when you're a kid and everyone picked on the fat girl, I defended the fat girl. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't like to see that kind of stuff. I don't like to see players really being not cool to other players.
Yeah. I appreciate that.
Yeah. It's just no place for it, so it becomes not fun.
Yeah. And like, that's when you start scaring away the people who you want to be there.
Yeah. And you have to be careful too, because some of those players that I'm mentioning are really good for the game. So you got to sit on your hands, right? And again, I'm not going to mention any names, but that's why you just have to just grin and bear it, because a lot of the big whales like are not pleasant to be around. Some of them.
How many times have we been at a poker table anywhere where there's been the drunken guy who is spewing money, but is just berating the dealer, doing this and that, not tipping, the things that just frustrate anyone who's a regular.
And see, for me, I consider myself a regular now, right? But because I'm the owner of a show and we are putting on a show, that's good for the show. So that's why I like fucked up with that particular person you said and everything else, because that's good for the show. If it was me not running a show, not a business, I don't give two shits how good that person is for the game. I'd rather have him get out of there.
Right.
Because honestly, like I want to win. Yes, I know that it's good to have players like that. But if I'm not enjoying playing, I don't really care. I don't care to win. I'd rather not be there.
Yeah, makes sense. It's all about the experience.
Yes.
So my last question for you is, what is your biggest dream right now when it comes to poker? Are you more focused on the success of the live stream? It sounds like yes. Or do you have plans to play in any MTTs? Where do you see yourself devoting the majority of your poker time?
Yeah, I don't have any big plans personally for poker. Like, you know, I heard you guys talking about cash games versus tournaments, all that. Like, I can't really see myself ever diving deep into tournaments, so I'll probably never win a bracelet, right? I could, on one hand, I could show you all the tournaments I've played, and it's a whole different horse of a different color anyways, of course. Not saying I would win one. I'm just saying, so I don't have any real big aspirations. I've played with the top names. I play in the biggest games. I'm kind of where I'm at, you know, in my poker career, and I'm just content with it. As far as business though, that's something that, like, because everything else I've kind of put on the shelf, that is something I'm really focused on. We just, you know, made a deal with a company called Max Bet TV, which basically is we're going to be putting our product out on a lot of different internet TV apps. And we're going to be running a ton of content. We're going to have 2 channels. It looks like one that is with all the other gaming, which is, you know, either roulette or slots or whatever else people, which I don't know how anyone watches that on TV, but whatever. Right. And so we're going to be on that. Then we're going to have our second channel where it's just us 24 hours a day. And so I'm really highly focused on getting our brand out. You know, YouTube will always be there free. MaxBet TV is going to be free. If we ever run any really big, massive something cool, maybe we'll do a pay-per-view if it's something, but who knows? I could see us maybe getting on some, even though internet TV is taking over cable, but cable's still there. So it's something on my radar to be also on regular TV as well. Like, I just, you know, the business end of it drives me. I love poker. So that's why I like doing this, because it's fine. Like, I got to tell you, I ran a real estate training company for 7 years. Did I like real estate investing? Yeah. Did it make me really wealthy? Yeah. But I don't love it. Okay. But I love teaching the students. I love public speaking. I love doing all that. But when it came to talking about 2x4s and 4x4s and roofs and everything else, I mean, you had to give me a line. I couldn't stay away, which, by the way, I don't do that. So that's a joke. So yeah, it's kind of cool doing something I love. And so because of that, it makes it easy for me to grind the business end of it. And honestly, you know, it's just something that, I want to build to be proud of. That's all. Nothing more.
Fair enough. Well, it's something you absolutely should be proud of, and can't wait to see how the stream develops, and can't wait to keep watching you on stream as well. Well, thank you so much for coming on today, Nick. We really appreciate you. We really appreciate this interview, and we will continue to watch The Hustler and continue to watch you on stream and support you. And thank you so much again. This was a great interview, and appreciate your analysis on the hands.
I appreciate it, guys. You guys do a good job, and I'll be contacting you so I can figure out how to get a link to this, because I'm not good with technology. You can help me out.
Oh, we'll absolutely get you.
Anytime you got some questions, let me know.
Absolutely. We'll do. Appreciate you, Nick. You have a good one.
All right. Peace. NV out.